Have you ever spent hours, hours, trying to memorize new vocabulary only to wake up the next day and feel like your brain just, I don't know, hit the delete button?
Oh, absolutely. You stare at the words and it's like,
Yeah,
blank slate, nothing.
exactly. It's incredibly frustrating, isn't it? It can really make you feel like you just don't have that language talent.
hmm You end up in that cycle of learn, forget, learn, forget,
Yeah, and start blaming yourself. I'm just bad at this.
which is where this deep dive gets really interesting. We looked into the science of vocabulary retention, and the
Yeah.
big takeaway, forgetting isn't some personal failing. It's actually your brain's default mode.
Okay, that's good. That's kind of liberating, actually.
It is. The real key isn't fighting it head on, but understanding that remembering isn't magic. It's a science, a learnable science.
So the problem isn't us, the learners. It's usually the method we're using.
Precisely. And that's our mission today. We're going to untack how memory actually works and, give you some scientifically proven techniques to make words stick.
Hopefully forever, as our source puts it.
Well, maybe not literally forever, but significantly better.
Yeah.
We want to turn this from a chore into something effective, maybe even enjoyable.
Okay, let's dive in then. How does the brain actually handle a new word? Most people probably think it's like hitting save.
Yeah, like a simple recording,
Yeah.
but it's much more complex. When you encounter a new word, let's say, serendipity,
Yeah.
your brain isn't just taking a static snapshot.
Okay, so if it's not just record, what is happening in there? I seriously pictured a little mental tape recorder.
It's way more dynamic. Different parts of your brain light up. Your visual areas process how serendipity looks written down.
Right.
Auditory regions capture the sound of it. And then semantic networks try to connect it to meaning, to other concepts you already know.
Wow. Okay, so multiple systems involved.
Exactly. And then a key player steps in. The hippocampus is deep in your brain. Think of it like a temporary staging area.
A gatekeeper, sort of.
Yeah, a memory gatekeeper. It's constantly deciding what's worth keeping long term and what can just fade away.
So how does it make that decision? What tells the hippocampus, hey, this serendipity thing is important?
Good question. It looks for cues. Is the word repeated? Is it emotionally significant? Did you really focus on it? If the answer is yes, the connections between the neurons involved get stronger.
Like building a stronger bridge between them.
That's a great analogy. It's like laying down more support beams. Every time you meaningfully encounter the word, the signal gets stronger. Scientists call this long-term potentiation, or LTP.
LTP, okay.
And that's the process. That's
Wow.
how a fleeting thought, a word on your mental notepad, gets sort of cemented into a more durable memory trace.
That makes way more sense than just hitting save. It's about building connections. But what about short-term versus long-term memory? Are they just like two different boxes?
Not quite like physical boxes. Think of short-term memory, or working memory as it's often called, like that mental notepad.
Right. Limited space.
Very limited, maybe 5 to 9 items of phone number you're about to dial, for example. And it fades fast, within seconds or minutes, unless you actively work with it.
Like repeating the number over and over?
Exactly. Or connecting it to something meaningful. Long-term memory, though, that seems practically limitless.
Yeah.
The real art of vocabulary learning is figuring out how to transfer words from that fragile notepad into the huge, durable, long-term store.
Okay, so we've encoded the word LTP as maybe starting.
Yeah.
But what happens after, especially when we sleep? I used to pull all-nighters thinking more awake time meant more learning.
Ah, the classic all-nighter. Yeah, the research is pretty clear on this one. Sleep is absolutely crucial.
Crucial how?
Well, the hippocampus isn't just active when you're learning. During deep sleep and REM sleep, it actually replays the day's experiences, including the new words you learned.
Seriously, it replays them.
Yes, it's consolidating those memories, strengthening those LTP connections we talk about. It's basically filing things away properly into long-term storage.
So if you learn words and then sleep.
Your retention is significantly better than if you stay awake trying to cram more in. That sleep phase is when the brain cements the learning.
So my all-nighters were probably counterproductive.
Almost certainly. Without sleep, the brain just doesn't get the chance to do that vital consolidation work.
Okay, wow. So the brain has all this complex machinery trying to help us remember. Yet, we still forget. Words just vanish. Why does that happen so easily?
Yeah, it's the frustrating part, isn't it? There are a few common culprits. One big one is cognitive overload.
Trying to learn too much at once, like those massive word lists.
Exactly. Trying to cram, say, 100 new words in one sitting. Your brain just can't process them all deeply. It's what we call shallow encoding.
Like sketching it lightly instead of engraving it.
Perfect analogy.
Yeah.
The word never really made a strong impression in the first place.
Been there, done that with the 100-word list. Nightmare. But even if you don't overload, words still disappear. Which brings us to the forgetting curve.
Yes, Hermann Ebbinghaus back in the 19th century. His work showed something pretty brutal.
Which is
Without any review, you forget about 50% of new information within just an hour.
half of it in an hour.
Yep. And it gets worse. Within 24 hours, maybe 70% is gone.
Yeah.
After a week, almost all of it.
Ouch.
But here's the key. This isn't a flaw. Your brain is designed to forget stuff it thinks is unimportant. It's an efficiency mechanism.
So it's actively trying to clear out the clutter.
Kind of. The only way to tell your brain, no, hang on, this word matters, is to interrupt that forgetting process.
Yeah.
You have to review it systematically.
Okay, systematic review. But sometimes even with review, words feel shaky, like they're barely hanging on. What's missing then?
Often, it's about the connections, or the lack of them. A word learned in isolation, without a strong link to its meaning, an image, or a real context. It's like a kite with no string.
Just floats away.
Right. If you just memorize the sound Perot
Yeah.
without connecting it firmly to the image of a dog, or maybe a memory of your dog, or the English word dog,
Yeah.
it just doesn't have an anchor.
It needs hooks to grab onto. Makes sense. And then there's that other sneaky problem, interference, mixing up similar words.
Oh, definitely. Very common. Languages are full of words that look or sound similar or have related meanings.
Like in French. Huh.
Good example. Library is a bookstore, but bibliothèque is a library. Easy to mix up, right?
Totally. Done that too.
That's interference. The similar memories compete, and you either grab the wrong one or just get confused, like having two keys that look almost identical.
Okay. So we've got overload, the forgetting curve, weak connections, interference, a lot working against us.
It can feel that way.
So now that we understand the traps, let's get to the solutions, the toolkit. Our source outlines some really powerful science-backed principles, and the big one seems to be spaced repetition.
Absolutely. Spaced repetition systems, or SRS, are probably one of the most effective tools we have.
How does it work exactly? It's not just random review, right?
Not at all. It's strategic. Instead of cramming reviews, you review words at gradually increasing intervals.
So like review today, then in a few days, then in a week, then 2 weeks.
Exactly. The timing is designed to counteract that natural forgetting curve we talked about. You see the word again, just as you're about to forget it.
Intercepting the forgetting.
Precisely. And apps like Anki or SuperMemo, they use algorithms to figure out the optimal timing for each specific word based on how well you know it.
That's clever. It adapts to you. Okay, so that tackles the timing of review. What about the way we review? You mentioned active recall earlier.
Yes, this is crucial. It's the testing effect. Basically, the act of struggling to remember something strengthens the memory much more than passively seeing it again.
So just rereading my word list isn't the best
It's
thing.
better than nothing, but it's passive. Active recall means, for instance, seeing the English word on a flashcard and forcing yourself to produce the foreign word before flipping it over.
That little moment of effort.
That effort, that retrieval attempt, is what really builds the memory muscle. It's like lifting the weight, not just looking at it.
Right.
Research shows it boosts retention significantly.
Makes total sense. You have to pull it out yourself. And this ties into another principle, right? Encoding specificity. Sounds technical.
It sounds a bit technical, but the idea is simple. Memory works best when the way you try to recall information matches the way you learned it.
Okay. How does that apply to words?
Well, if you only ever practice vocabulary using flashcards in your quiet room, you might struggle to recall those words during a fast-paced, noisy conversation.
Because the learning context doesn't match the recall context.
Exactly. Your brain learned the word with certain cues, quiet room, visual card. It struggles when those cues are missing.
So the takeaway is,
Practice words in the kinds of situations where you'll actually use them. Encounter them in reading, practice using them in speaking, hear them in listening exercises. Don't just learn them in isolation.
okay, let's make this super practical. What are some specific, effective techniques people can use right away? Flashcards are a classic.
They are. And digital flashcards especially are powerful because they often have that spaced repetition built right in.
Like Anki, Quizlet, Memrise.
Yep, those kinds of apps. They track how well you know each word and schedule the reviews automatically. It takes the guesswork out of the spacing.
Very efficient. Now, what about for visual learners? Mnemonics and visualization, I hear the sillier the better.
Absolutely. The brain loves images, especially weird or funny ones. Mnemonics create memorable hooks.
Like your example, casa, for umbrella in Japanese.
Imagine a massive, ridiculous castle Casa in Spanish Italian, maybe familiar, balancing on top of an umbrella, or an umbrella shaped like a castle, something vivid.
Okay, I can see how that would stick. It creates a little story.
Exactly. It anchors the abstract sound to a concrete, memorable image.
Then there are things like word mapping or mind maps. How do they help?
They help you build connections, mirroring how your brain organizes information. Instead of learning marine in isolation, you map it out.
Connecting it to ocean, sailor, fish, submarine.
Right. You create a web of related concepts. This gives your brain multiple pathways to retrieve the word marine. If one connection is weak, another might trigger it. It enriches the word's context.
Making it less like an isolated island and more part of a network.
Precisely. And speaking of networks, one of the most critical techniques is contextual learning.
Learning words in sentences, not just lists.
Yes. Don't just memorize apologize. Learn it in a sentence. She apologized for being late.
Why is that so much better?
Because context gives you so much more. You get grammar. You see how the word is actually used with other words, collocations. You might even get emotional tone. It makes the word feel three-dimensional, real.
Gives it a habitat to live in.
Great way to put it. And that mention of emotion brings us to another point. Emotional connections.
How do emotions play into memory?
They act like a highlighter pen for your brain. Emotions signal that something is important, worth remembering.
So if you learn a word during a funny story or a song you love,
or a really meaningful conversation, it's much more likely to stick than a word you just saw on a list.
can you create those connections deliberately?
You could try. Connect a word like freedom to a personal memory or a strong feeling. That personal relevance makes it incredibly durable.
Wow. Okay, so we have SRS, active recall, context, mnemonics, emotional links, lots of powerful tools. How do we actually build this into a sustainable habit, though? It sounds like it could be a lot of work.
Consistency is the key, not necessarily huge amounts of time. Our sources suggest something like a 15-minute vocabulary habit.
Just 15 minutes a day.
Yeah. Spend that time reviewing maybe 10, 15 words using spaced repetition and active recall. Small, consistent doses are far more effective than occasional marathon sessions.
Like watering a plant daily versus drowning it once a week.
Exactly. It respects your brain's natural learning rhythm.
And should that time be only for new words or mixing old and new?
Definitely mix them. You need that constant review of older words to fight the forgetting curve, but you also need new input to keep moving forward. Finding that balance is key.
And beyond that, dedicated 15 minutes.
Engage with the language. Read articles, listen to podcasts, watch shows or movies in your target language. This reinforces words naturally, in context.
Seeing them in the wild.
Right. And the ultimate reinforcement, actually using the words.
Speaking and writing.
Absolutely. Forcing yourself to retrieve a word, to use it in your own sentence or in a conversation, is probably the strongest way to cement it in memory.
Right.
Way more powerful than just recognizing it.
Makes sense. You have to own it to use it. What about technology? Apps are everywhere now. Pros and cons.
Well, the pros are pretty obvious. Personalization, portability, you can review anywhere. Gamification can make it more fun. Some even have speech recognition for pronunciation.
Sounds great. Downsides.
Potential for over-reliance, maybe leading to shallower learning if you're just clicking buttons without really thinking. Screen fatigue is real. And for some people, maybe it feels less engaging than, say, making physical flashcards or using a notebook.
Finding the right blend for you, I guess.
Exactly. Now, beyond the specific techniques and tools, there are some important psychological factors too.
Like motivation. Seems obvious, but crucial.
Absolutely critical. Without a reason why you're learning, even the best method won't stick. Setting clear goals helps. I want to learn X words by Y date, or I want to be able to discuss Z topic.
And consistency ties into that motivation.
They feed each other. Consistency builds momentum, which boosts motivation.
What about stress? Does being stressed affect memory?
Massively. Stress hormones like cortisol actually impair the brain's ability to encode new memories effectively.
So trying to learn when you're stressed or anxious is less effective.
Much less effective.
Yeah.
This is why relaxed, enjoyable learning environments work better. Using games, songs, talking with friends, low-pressure methods boost recall. If it feels like a chore, your brain kind of resists it.
Learning should be fun, or at least not painful.
Ideally, yes. And we have to mention sleep again. We talked about consolidation.
Can't emphasize it enough, right?
Non-negotiable. 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep. It's when the brain does its essential filing and strengthening. Even naps after learning can help.
Good to know. And finally, this idea of cultural and emotional anchoring, it's not just about the definition.
Not at all. Words live within cultures. Learning a word like the Danish hidge.
That cozy feeling.
Right. It makes so much more sense when you understand a bit about Danish culture or you experience something like it. Watching movies, listening to music, reading stories from that culture, it creates these deep anchors.
Makes the word richer, more memorable.
Much more. It connects the word to a whole world of meaning and feeling.
Okay, so we have the tools, the habits, the mindset. What are the big mistakes people make? What should we actively avoid?
Well, number one is probably passive learning, just rereading lists without testing yourself.
Ignoring active recall.
Exactly. Another is ignoring context learning words as isolated units. Not reviewing is a big one, just letting that forgetting curve take over.
Letting nature take its course in a bad way for learning.
Right. And prioritizing quantity over quality, thinking you need to learn hundreds of words right now. It's better to really master fewer words and be able to use them than to have a shaky grasp of many.
Deep learning over shallow learning.
Precisely.
Are there any more advanced strategies for people who really want to push their vocabulary mastery?
Yeah, a few interesting ones. Interleaving practice. Instead of studying just verbs, then just nouns, mix them up in your study sessions. It forces your brain to be more flexible.
Case it on its toes.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Also, deliberately using words in varied contexts helps generalize understanding. Trying to explain a word or concept to someone else teaching it forces you to understand it deeply.
The ultimate test.
It really is. And engaging multiple senses, hearing the word, seeing it written, maybe even writing it out or acting it out, kinesthetic, creates richer memory traces.
Okay, this all sounds fantastic in theory, but does it actually work in the real world? Is there research or evidence?
Oh, absolutely. This isn't just theoretical. Many successful polyglots people, fluent in multiple languages, intuitively or explicitly, use these exact techniques.
Like spaced repetition and active recall.
Heavily. Think of people like Benny Lewis, who advocates speaking from day one that's intense active recall and context.
And the scientific research backs this up.
Rigorously. There are meta-analyses, like the one by Cepeda and colleagues, looking at decades of research, confirming that spaced repetition massively outperforms cramming for long-term retention.
Okay.
And numerous studies on the testing effect show that active retrieval can boost recall by 50% or more compared to just rereading, especially after a delay like a week.
So the science is solid.
Very solid. These aren't just nice ideas, they're evidence-based strategies.
So bringing this all together for our listeners, what's the main message here?
I think the biggest thing is stop blaming yourself for forgetting. It's not a weakness, it's just how memory works. The real power comes from aligning your learning methods with your brain's natural processes, not fighting against them.
Okay, so to sum up the key takeaways, use spaced repetition. Practice active recall test yourself.
Anchor words in context, emotion, and personal meaning. Build consistent daily habits, even short ones.
And support the whole process with good sleep, managing stress, staying motivated, and maybe diving into the culture a bit.
Exactly. Vocabulary learning isn't really about some innate language gene. It's about finding the right methods, these scientifically backed methods, and applying them consistently.
With these strategies, that feeling of words vanishing overnight can genuinely become a thing of the past. You really can make words stick.
You absolutely can. It transforms the whole experience.
So the final thought for everyone listening, what new word will you commit to memory today using these techniques?